What's going on, guys, and welcome to my NHL 17 Stanley Cup playoff simulation video. We are going to be seeing which team is going to simulate the best and which team is going to hoist Lord Stanley over their heads. At the end of the video, I will be showing you guys my personal predictions as well, but as of last night, every single playoff matchup has now been confirmed. Over in the Western Conference, you have the Anaheim Ducks versus the Calgary Flames. Calgary had an unbelievable end to the year and really solidified themselves as a playoff team. You got the Edmonton Oilers versus the San Jose Sharks. Everybody's eyes are going to be on McDavid making his playoff debut. That's going to be a great series. You got the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild, going to be a very grindy series. I think every game's going to be like 2-1, 1-0. That's going to be a great series as well. And then you got a series that we've seen a few times, which is Nashville and the Chicago Blackhawks. That will be a very grindy series as well. Moving over to the Eastern Conference, you got the powerhouse Washington Capitals against the young guns in Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and William Nylander. So a very, very fun matchup there. I think that's going to be a high-scoring series. And you got Pittsburgh versus Columbus, and I think a lot of people are rooting for Columbus. They had that crazy year, and no one really expected them to do well, and they're up against another powerhouse team there, and the Maurice Richard winner, Sidney Crosby, so that'll be an exciting matchup as well. I love every single matchup this year. Everyone has its little storyline. I think it's awesome. And you got the Bruins versus Ottawa, another fun series as well, and then you got a nice original six matchup there with the Montreal Canadiens versus the New York Rangers. Carey Price and Henrik Lundqvist, the battle of the Titans, battle of the heavyweight goaltenders. That could be a fun one as well. So I went ahead and I simulated 3 games here for every single team. It looks like the only big advantage right now is Boston has a 3-0 lead against the Ottawa Senators. So we're going to see here if the Anaheim Ducks can really take a stranglehold here against Calgary. Oh no, Calgary comes back and they tie it up at 2. Minnesota puts St. Louis on the brink of elimination. Toronto ties it up with the Washington Capitals, and the Bruins are the first team to advance into round number 2. Every series is pretty close here, and Montreal makes it a 3-1 series. Who's going to be the next team to advance? Is it going to be Minnesota? There it is. Minnesota gets rid of the St. Louis Blues. That didn't seem too hard. Tarasenko is gone in 5 games. Let's see here if Columbus can get rid of Pittsburgh. No, Pittsburgh comes right back. Montreal advances. There you go. Let's see if the Washington Capitals can knock off Austin Matthews, and they do just that. Nashville beats out Chicago in 6 games. Wow. All right, we got 2 Game 7s here. We got Pittsburgh and Columbus, and we got Calgary and Anaheim. 2 games going right down to the wire, and Anaheim advances. Wow. All right. They win the Game 7, and we'll see here with Pittsburgh and Columbus. The Columbus Blue Jackets knock off the defending Stanley Cup champions. Wow, the hockey world is shocked. Let's have a look here at the round 1 scoring leaders. It's like Philip Forsberg leading the way with Dubinsky, Ovechkin, Kessel, Radulov, all the All-Stars. Bergeron there. Tarasenko had 8 points in 5 games, but unfortunately he was his team couldn't stack up and they were bounced in 5 games. So there's pretty much everyone. Leon Draisaitl with 7 points, Kessler with 7, Hamilton with 7. So a lot of players are getting a point per game. We're down to the final 8 right now. Edmonton has a 3-1 lead against the Anaheim Ducks. They can get rid of them right now. They are 7-3. Can McDavid do it? No, they force a Game 6, and Minnesota is the first team to advance from the final 8. There you go. And the Washington Capitals have a 3-2 lead, and the Boston Bruins also have a 3-2 lead. Anaheim forces a Game 7 after being down 3-1. Montreal can get rid of the Bruins here in game number 6. Are they gonna do it? And no, they force a Game 7. 2 Game 7s once again, and unfortunately McDavid is out of the playoffs. The Anaheim Ducks get rid of them in 7 games. Let's see what's gonna happen with the Bruins, and Montreal gets rid of the Bruins in 7 games. So there's been some close series here. Holy, you can have a look here. A couple of Game 7s for the Anaheim Ducks. That's impressive. That just goes to show the depth of their team. So we got got our final four here. We got Washington, we got the Montreal Canadiens, and then we got the Wild and the Ducks. So a very interesting final four. I think maybe a lot of people would expect that from the Eastern Conference, but not so much from the West. Ovechkin has 16 points in 12 games. Bergeron, 18 points in 11 games. Holy crap, the guy's killing it right now. McDavid has 14 points. All right, McDavid's gone, Bergeron's gone. We're down to the final four. The Capitals have a 3-1 lead. They can get rid of Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens in game number 5. Can they do it? Punch your ticket to the Stanley Cup Finals, Ovi. No, Carey Price says absolutely not. Another game 7 for the Anaheim Ducks. Holy crap. Come on, Ovi. You're going to the Stanley Cup Finals. You can do it, buddy. There you go. They get rid of them in 6 games. Another game 7 for the Anaheim Ducks. Can they do it again? Absolutely they do. This team, 3 game 7s. Holy. Again, the depth of this team, unbelievable. Corey Perry is lighting it up right now with 22 points. Ovi's right behind him with 21. Backstrom's got 21. Radulov's got 20. He's out of the playoffs. Weber's gone. Bergeron's gone. Pacioretty's gone. We got Vermette, Kessler, Vatanen. This is going to be a very, very good Stanley Cup final. This will be a really exciting final to watch. I don't think a lot of people expected Anaheim to be here, but Washington is obviously the favorite. So let's go, baby. Stanley Cup Finals. Let's get this thing underway. Game number 1, Washington takes it. They're up 1-0. Game number 2, they take it as well. They're up 2-0. Anaheim's got to get back into this. There you go. They take game 3 as a very important game. Going into game number 4, yeah, this is all but over. The Anaheim Ducks have their back against the wall, but you know what? They have won 3 consecutive game 7s, so I'm not going to count these guys out right yet. Getzlaf and Nate Thompson go up on a 2-1 lead here. Okay, 4-3. Corey Perry, Nick Ritchie, Johansson gets his second of the game. Jay Beagle gets another one. Let's go here. ×8 simulation for the entire thing. All you got to do is play 16 minutes of good defensive hockey. I think John Gibson is going to have this in the bag. He's not letting one in here. 4-3. He's stopping everything right now. 35 shots. Doesn't matter. John Gibson is in the zone. Stopping Ovi, stopping Backstrom. Doesn't matter. And 49 seconds left. There you go. Oh man, this team will just not go away. The Anaheim Ducks have climbed back into the series, making it a 3-2 event. The Washington Capitals can clinch a Stanley Cup. They can get a ring right now. After 1, it's 0-0. Going into the second, John Carlson makes it a 1-0 lead. Ovi has been in the league for 11, 12 years, whatever it is, has never been to a Stanley Cup final, and he's 15 minutes away from getting that Stanley Cup ring. Justin Williams, this guy is playoff clutch all the time. TJ Oshie makes it 3-0. On home ice in game 7, they have a 3-0 lead. Oh my god, Ovi is gonna get his ring. 5 minutes left. We gotta go to an actual game here. We gotta see this guy hoist the Stanley Cup. A minute 40 left. All you gotta do is hang on. Don't let these guys get any momentum. Big save there for Braden Holtby. Down to 11 seconds left. Just play good defensive hockey. You are gonna have this in the bag. There you go. The Washington Capitals are your 2017 Stanley Cup champions. Ovi finally gets his ring. The Verizon Center explodes. Justin Williams gets another Stanley Cup ring. Backstrom finally gets his ring. Unbelievable. There he is. Ovi, I'm sure he had just a crazy playoff. He was leading the league in scoring, or he was in the top 3 anyways. Getzlaf goes and talks to his goalie, John Gibson. I mean, this team, they would not go away. They played so good. Obviously, back-to-back-to-back Game 7 victories en route to a Stanley Cup final. And the Conn Smythe goes to Ovi. 13 goals, 19 assists. Holy crap. Ovi, there you go. You finally get your Stanley Cup ring. Go hoist that Stanley Cup, Ovechkin. You deserved it, buddy. There you go. Finally. Now the debate is over. Crosby's got this. Ovi doesn't have this. Blah, blah, blah. Ovi's got his ring now. now he can shut everybody up. So the Washington Capitals, with a record of 16-8, are your 2017 Stanley Cup champions. Ovechkin had 32 points. Oh my god, he had like 12 or 13 points in that one round. Holy crap. So did Nicholas Backstrom. They both just absolutely turned it on. Corey Perry with 27, Oshie with 21 as well. Let's have a look here at how the rookies did and how everybody else did. So obviously we want to see how Austin Matthews did in his first round exit. 6 points in 6 games, not that bad. Obviously they were bounced by the Capitals, the Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals. Oliver Bjorkstrand led the way for rookie skaters there with 10 points in 13 games. 16-8 for Braden Holtby. The goals against averages just seem to be astronomical right now. 2.59, it's not very good. 4 shutouts for Braden Holtby, and the Washington Capitals are your Stanley Cup champions. Now let's get into my personal prediction on who's going to hoist Lord Stanley in 2017. So here's my personal prediction for the Stanley Cup playoffs. In round number 1 on the West, I have Chicago beating the Nashville Predators, and then I have the Minnesota Wild getting rid of the St. Louis Blues. So in round 2, we got Chicago and Minnesota. Also in the West, I have the Calgary Flames getting rid of the Anaheim Ducks, and the young Edmonton Oilers beating the veteran San Jose Sharks. I want to see a battle of Alberta, so that's what we got right there with Edmonton and Calgary. I have Edmonton beating Calgary and Minnesota beating Chicago. And then in the Western Conference Finals, I have the Edmonton Oilers losing to the Minnesota Wild and Minnesota going to the Stanley Cup Final with Devan Dubnyk. We got Eric Staal, Granlund. I'll explain why in a couple minutes here. Now let's go over to the Eastern Conference. I have the Montreal Canadiens beating the New York Rangers, and then I have the Ottawa Senators beating the Boston Bruins. So we got Montreal and Ottawa in the second round, and I also have Washington beating the Toronto Maple Leafs. As much as I want to see Austin Matthews and obviously all those young kids move on, I don't think it's going to happen, especially against the Washington Capitals. But you know what? Crazier things have happened. You know, maybe they get on a roll and for some miraculous miracle, they get past the Washington Capitals. I will be very surprised. But I have Washington getting over Toronto, and I have Pittsburgh beating the Blue Jackets. So we got another Washington-Pittsburgh matchup. So much fun to watch. I got the Washington Capitals beating Pittsburgh and moving on to the conference finals against the Montreal Canadiens. I got them beating Ottawa. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals, I have the Washington Capitals losing to the Montreal Canadiens. So we got a Stanley Cup final of Montreal and Minnesota. I picked these two teams for very specific reasons. I picked Minnesota because I feel like it's all about goaltending for me. That's why obviously you got Carey Price and you got Devan Dubnyk. When Dubnyk's on his game, he's crazy, and I think that they have a good mix of veterans and a good mix of young guys. Their defensive core obviously led by Ryan Suter, Jared Spurgeon. Their offensive core obviously is fantastic as well. Granlund had a career year. Eric Staal had a crazy bounce back year. I really like this Minnesota Wild team with the addition of Marty Hanzal. I've loved that trade since the start. I think Minnesota really has what it takes, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think if they end up getting past the Chicago Blackhawks in round 2, I think they're going to get on a roll and no one's going to be able to stop them. And I picked Montreal obviously because they've been so dominant for the past few years. Obviously with Carey Price, Pacioretty had 35 goals this year. And out of this matchup, I have the Stanley Cup coming back to Canada. I have the Stanley Cup champions being the Montreal Canadiens. I think it's about time. I mean, it's all about goaltending again. If Carey Price is on his game, he's pretty much unbeatable. He's the best goalie on planet Earth. So that's my reasoning for Montreal winning the Stanley Cup. Let me know who you think is going to win the cup in the comments down below. I think it's about time the Stanley Cup comes back to Canada. So thanks for watching. I will see you guys later. Enjoy the postseason. It's going to be a good one. Montreal, they're your next Stanley Cup champion. Who knows? This bracket's probably all wrong anyways.